to order. If folks can find a seat. We do have a quorum. Representative Stevenson, will you move approval of the minutes from January 31st?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move that the committee approve the minutes from our last meeting on January 31st.
Thanks. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Minutes are approved. We are going to now welcome Rick O'Connell, Executive Director.
No, thank you.
It's not working. We are welcoming Rick O'Connell he's the Executive Director of GridLab. Welcome to the committee. He will be speaking for 15 minutes. We will have 15 minutes of questions. Welcome to the committee, and if you would introduce yourself for the record.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, I'm Rick O'Connell. I'm the Executive Director of GridLab. It's a national organization that provides policy and technical expertise around complex grid issues. I'm honored to be here. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I'm honored to be here and excited to talk about the Smarter Grid Report, which came out around August of 2018. I was asked about 18 months ago to help project manage the study that was funded by the McKnight Foundation. And the McKnight Foundation really both conceived and funded the study. Dr. Chris Clack of Vibrant Clean Energy executed the modeling and produced the report over the course of a year. So this was a long and thoughtful process. There were other folks involved. Synapse Energy Economics helped with the load forecasts and the electrification. And we had a robust stakeholder process, which I managed, which included input from a large number of organizations in Minnesota, including Xcel Energy. So the purpose of the report was really to understand the role of the electricity sector, the potential role of the electricity sector in decarbonizing Minnesota's economy, to meet its climate goals as laid out in the Next Generation Energy Act. So we wanted to understand if it was technically and economically feasible to decarbonize the electric sector. So in other words, remove the carbon from the electric sector. And then if through electrification, we could successfully decarbonize other sectors. So we wanted to know what technologies might be chosen, how much it would all cost, what the impact to jobs and GDP would be to the state. And we wanted to also understand what the role of the wider electrical grid would be, and what the role of customer-sided resources, such as rooftop solar and demand response. So we started the study by really looking at our economy-wide and identifying other sectors that might be able to be electrified, such as transport and buildings. And so electrification really means converting current fossil fuel, such as internal combustion engines for cars, or natural gas for space heating or water heating, converting that to electricity. And then that electricity, in turn, would be decarbonized over the next 30 years via the deployment of carbon-free energy resources. And then because we were looking so far in the future, I think it was Yogi Berra who said, predictions are difficult, especially those about the future. We used the DOE's annual technology baseline. This is developed by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. So this is a widely used forecast of the cost of energy technologies in the future. So things like wind, solar, storage, natural gas, nuclear. So we estimated that roughly 2/3 of commercial buildings and 3/4 of residential buildings would convert to space heating and water heating through electrification, so they convert to electricity. And we also included significant energy efficiency in all sectors, so industrial, residential, and commercial. We estimated that almost 90%, so 89% of vehicle miles traveled from light-duty vehicles would be electric by 2050, and about 22% of medium and heavy-duty vehicle miles traveled would be electric by 2050. And so because other sectors are going to find it costly and difficult to decarbonize, and the electric sector so far has actually been pretty successful, both here in Minnesota and across the country in decarbonizing, we made a target of 91% decarbonization by 2050. Please don't ask me why that wasn't a round number, in order to decarbonize the economy as a whole. So I do have most of the slides that were at handouts are just repeating these points, but there is one graphical depiction, which is slide 5. One of the things that's really important that we did is we assumed very aggressive energy efficiency. And so what we're seeing on this slide is really the difference in load or electric load between our business as usual or our base case and the decarbonization case. And here what you can see is we have a lot of new load from electrifying transport. So that's the bars above the line. And then below the line, we have a lot of reducing in load because of industrial energy efficiency. And even though we're adding load through electrification of space and water heating, efficiency really sort of cancels that out. So really the commercial and residential sectors actually have a small decrease. And then I just want to talk a little bit about Dr. Chris Clack at Vibrant Clean Energy, who actually, as I said, was the modeler and the author of the report. So he was a researcher at NOAA, the National Oceanographic Atmosphere Administration. He understood that, power systems and weather systems were actually really linked, that, obviously our load increases when it's very cold or very hot. And now that we're deploying a lot of things like wind and solar and hydro that are weather related, it's really important to understand weather to understand the electric system. So he built a very detailed model called Wisdom. This model actually doesn't just he doesn't just model Minnesota, he modeled the entire Eastern interconnection. And he models it at a very fine-grained detail, so down to 3 kilometers square and every 5 minutes. So this is very detailed. And you can see in the slides, there's some pretty pictures of the detail of like wind and solar data that he uses. So you need that level of sophistication when you're modeling high penetration of renewables. And so his model hasn't just been used for this study. The Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, or MISO, used his model to understand high renewables. And the University of Minnesota also used his model in a study to understand the impact of storage on electric grids. And just recently, Colorado did some modeling to understand how to replace retiring coal with other capacity. And his model doesn't just model sort of bulk electric things like utility scale solar plants, hydro, gas plants, but also looks at the demand side as well. So looking at customer-sided resources, electric vehicles, demand response. So in this study, we ran 13 different scenarios, and you always run different scenarios to understand the impacts of different things happening, things like higher natural gas prices. One of the key scenarios we ran, of course, was a background or kind of a business as usual case that we could compare all the other scenarios to. And so that was a case where we didn't have carbon targets in the model. And then for each of the main scenarios, we actually also had little sub-scenarios where we either allowed or didn't allow transmission expansion to connect to the wider grid. So we looked at scenarios where we had higher percentage of customer-sided resources. We looked at scenarios where we weren't allowed to get flexibility from customer-sided resources. And we also did some scenarios around the 2 nuclear plants in Minnesota where we allowed them to retire early or kept them on until 2050. In the baseline scenarios, we keep them on through their licensing expiration dates. So what were the outcomes of the modeling? What were sort of our takeaways? I think the headline is really that decarbonizing the electricity sector is cost effective and feasible. So we're able to do this reliably. In terms of costs, the costs were lower in all of the scenarios. I think the other big takeaway was that electrifying other sectors like transport and buildings actually complements decarbonization. So one of the interesting takeaways was, as you use electricity to heat buildings, then that increases the value of winter energy, and that increases the value of wind energy. So we actually ended up deploying a lot of wind in this scenario. Other key takeaways would be we reduced the criteria air pollutants dramatically. So this isn't just carbon, but also sulfur dioxide, NOx, particulate matter, all the other criteria pollutants. And we increased jobs. So jobs in the energy sector tripled through the study period by the end of 2050. And then I think the other thing that was interesting is that I think a lot of previous studies had looked at very high renewable penetrations required significant transmission expansion or very large transmission expansion. And while we saw the need for transmission expansion, and if we didn't include transmission expansion, the cost went up, that these scenarios only require kind of what we would call modest transmission. So we're still sharing power with neighboring states. I think the other thing that we learned was that having flexibility in things like electric vehicle charging, so having flexible loads on the customer side really also reduce costs of decarbonization. So I think that's another key takeaway in terms of going forward, is that having that flexibility of load is very important for increased variable generation and reducing costs. And then finally, I would say that while in the short term, the decarbonization case and the business as usual case, sort of no policy case, look very similar up to just before 2030. After 2030, they diverge pretty radically. So I think that's, sort of in closing, I would say, Minnesota is particularly blessed with strong renewable resources. And I think, through the study, we spent a lot of time thinking about how the electricity sector could decarbonize as well as help other sectors decarbonize. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions or talk further.
Questions from members? Representative Groffler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the testifier, there are two schools of thought on the pricing of energy. Some people view higher energy costs as a feature, that it makes more energy efficiency programs cost effective. It makes people waste less because the commodity is more. And there's another mindset that says that higher energy costs are actually destructive, that it leads to the outsourcing of pollution to other low-cost jurisdictions, that has a negative impact on the economy. Which of those schools of thought would you say that you personally agree with?
That's a great question, member. I'm not sure. I wasn't aware of those schools of thought, so I haven't really joined one as of this time. I would say that we're in a unique period where currently, right now, wind and solar costs are somewhere where we didn't think they would be 10 years ago. They're actually pretty low cost. And so I think we are in a position where there's abundance, right? So there's an abundance of cheap energy, and we just have to figure out the right way to use it. And that's maybe being more flexible with the way we use it, more flexible with our demand, sort of rethinking the way we use a power system to take advantage of this cheap energy. So I don't know if that was responsive to your question, but.
Madam Chair, and to the testifier, I'll ask it a different way then. Are higher energy prices a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, I'm not sure that, I'm an engineer, not an economist. So if you're saying if there's like price elasticity of demand, yeah, I'm not sure that this report really addresses that. Like, we don't look at a high energy price scenario versus low energy price. I guess I would say one thing is that one of the things that electrification does is it increases the utilization of the electricity system. So one of the reasons that we saw lower prices was that we're actually using more electricity, and so we're getting more out of the assets that we already have in the ground, like transmission and distribution. So that's one of the reasons why we see lower prices, is because we're actually using the system more. As you know, right now, we sort of design our system for the three highest days of the year. The rest of the time, the electricity system's not at full capacity. So the more that we can sort of fill the electricity system with the better utilization we get out of the assets that we have. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yep, and Madam Chair, I would agree with that. And obviously, right now, we're seeing in the passenger sedan market, I mean, essentially the gas mobile market is shutting down and converting to electrification. And in that scenario, we kind of have the best of both worlds, where electric vehicles offer us a lower lifetime cost of ownership, and with very few exceptions, the emissions profile is below that of consuming gasoline. So that's a win-win. But I respect the fact that you're an engineer, but as policymakers, we have to be able to differentiate those policies that reduce pollution in a cost-effective way and those that have reduced pollution but do it in a very expensive way. That's a factor that we have to consider, and it's one of the things that we try to ask of our testifiers. But thank you for your testimony today.
Sure, thank you.
Representative Swasinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. Just kind of, you mentioned that we currently have an abundance of cheap energy, kind of in your professional engineer role. Do you feel that we have kind of a glut in the energy market right now?
I would say that there's, most of the major organized markets like MISO or PJM have excess capacity. That's because we haven't had low growth over the last 10 years. Yeah, and I think when I was referring to the glut, I was really saying that there's a large amount of renewable resources available at very low cost. We just need to figure out the most intelligent way to use them.
Representative Bierman.
Madam Chair, thank you. I have a question on transmission of energy across the states and the difficulty of where we stand with turning toward more use of the wind and renewables, and faced with cold weeks like we had last week. What would the upgrades be needed here in Minnesota to maintain the system?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, member, for the question. So with variable resources like wind and solar, it's important to have a larger geographic footprint because, it may not be windy or sunny in Minnesota, but it might be windy or sunny somewhere else where you can get, and so you can exchange, you have, what we call diversity, right? So diversity is a good thing. And I think, like I said earlier, I think earlier studies would assume that for us to get the diversity we need to build significant transmission. So for instance, the National Renewable Energy Lab recently did a study called the SEAM study, where they looked at doing this sort of large macro grid or strengthening the ties between the eastern and the western grids to sort of exchange wind energy from the Midwest to other parts or solar energy from the Southwest. I think in this study, one of the things that came out was that while we needed, transmission definitely helped and additional transmission definitely helped, it was sort of on the order of the transmission build that we've been going through the last 10 years, like with the MISO MTEP projects. And it wasn't some massive new, build that would be, I think, quite difficult. And I think part of that was due to the fact that as the load shape changes and we start using more energy in winter, we can actually start using more wind power from Minnesota and not have to import power. So I don't know if that's a long way of answering your question, but I think that, I think the transmission upgrades that we saw here were lower than we expected, or lower than we've seen in previous studies. And I think part of that was because of the way the load changed. Is that helpful? Right.
Are there other questions from members? Seeing no other questions right now, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your testimony. We will be leaning on you later and on your report. Representative Long.
I think you should. I mean, you bought them. Madam Chair, before the author begins, I see we have some fine treats here for the committee. I think we can dispense with the public testimony and just move on to voting and moving this bill on to the next committee.
Thank you, Representative Garofalo. I appreciate it.
Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is my first bill to be heard as a legislator and also my first bill before the committee. So I brought some treats from District 61B, our very own Woolette Bakery. So feel free to partake and enjoy. I also wanted to mention that Senator Nick Frentz, our Senate author of this bill, was here earlier, had to leave, but wanted to thank him for his presence and coming by. And wanted to thank the large group that we have gathered here today. This is clearly an issue that Minnesotans care deeply about and are passionate about. I understand there are overflow several dozen people in the hallway as well. So thank you to everybody who took your time to be here today. Over the past 3 weeks in this committee, Madam Chair and members, we have heard powerful testimony about the impact that climate change is having in Minnesota. Mark Seeley told us the pace of change in our climate is completely unprecedented and that Minnesota is changing the fastest in the nation. Professor Freelick told us that by 2070, Minnesota could look like Kansas and that the boreal forest could be gone from our state. Dr. Surapanini noted that asthma, allergies, tick-borne diseases are all getting worse. Professor Gutnick told us that if winters are warmer, more pests will live, which will harm our crop yields. Minnesota is seeing real impacts from climate change now, and we know we must act urgently to confront this crisis. But our national leaders are failing to address climate change. We are the only country in the world to reject the landmark Paris Climate Agreement. It used to be us and Syria, and then Syria got its act together. So now it's just us and the world. And that makes it even more critical for states like Minnesota to lead. And we know we can be a leader because we've done it in the past. We enacted the 2007 Next Generation Energy Act under the signature of a Republican governor and 97% of the legislature. And we set a target of 25% renewable energy by 2025. And in 2007, that sounded really bold and potentially not even achievable. It was ambitious. But thanks to advances in clean energy technology, Minnesota met that goal last year, 7 years ahead of schedule. That's a good news story. Clean energy jobs in Minnesota are growing twice as fast as the economy as a whole. Minnesota is home to the #1 solar construction company and 2 of the top wind building companies in the country. This is all really good news. The bad news is that we're not moving fast enough, and we're still failing to meet our greenhouse gas targets. We heard from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency on our progress on the targets that were set out in our Next Generation Energy Act. Our first goal was 15% reduction below 2005 levels by 2015, and we only reduced 12%. Our furthest goal is an 88% reduction by 2050, and we're not on track to meet these goals either. We also are slipping behind some of the other states near us, some of our neighbors and states around the country in terms of pushing forward on a clean energy and creating clean energy jobs. Iowa, our neighbor to the south, is beating us in wind production, even though Minnesota has more wind potential. Last year, Minnesota didn't even make the top 20 states for solar jobs. So we need to reestablish our position as a national leader on clean energy. But as we have heard from our previous presenter, and as we know from other studies, 100% clean energy is achievable. 3 other states have already committed to 100% clean power. The Wisconsin and Colorado governors have both committed to 100% clean power. Our state's largest utility, Xcel Energy, became the first major utility in the country to commit itself to 100% clean energy, which is really notable. Cities in Minnesota are also leading the way. Rochester, St. Louis Park, and Minneapolis have all committed to transition to 100% clean energy by the early 2030s. Major companies as well, like Wells Fargo, General Motors, and Apple have joined more than 150 major companies in pledging to move to 100% renewable energy. So all of these stakeholders know that 100% is achievable. 100% is also the cheapest long-term option for Minnesota. Wind is currently the cheapest form of electricity, period. Dr. Mohan shared with this committee that the Lazard levelized cost of energy estimates, which is pretty wonky, but just means essentially the price. And that's, Lazard is an investment firm, so not a group that is going to be fudging the numbers. And they show that wind and solar are both cheaper than even natural gas. In fact, building new wind is cheaper than simply running a coal or natural gas plant that is already built. And it has the added benefit of a guaranteed cost, so no susceptibility to price swings. Right now, natural gas price is low, but it may not always be. And if we have a built-in cost for wind and solar, that has advantages to ratepayers. Solar, too, is cheaper than any new fossil fuel plants. So then the question is, well, why do we need a renewable energy standard? We've got clean energy that is cheaper than ever, and that's because business as usual and relying on markets is not going to get the job done in time. The crisis is urgent. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has said that we have 12 years to start taking meaningful action to reduce climate pollution. They've also said that every bit of warming matters, and limiting warming by even a ½ degree would have huge benefits. Business as usual also fails to consider the impacts of climate pollution on our health and the environment, so-called externalities, which aren't taken into account in normal markets. They don't calculate, for example, the estimated 2,000 early deaths in the Twin Cities annually from air pollution. They don't calculate that these health impacts are felt most by the poor and by people of color. They don't calculate the $40 million spent just last year on 10 natural disasters and 49 impacted counties across Minnesota. And to put that in perspective, that would pay for 650 additional teachers in our schools. If we're looking at business as usual and relying on markets, we're also not considering the broader economic benefits to Minnesota, which is something that the legislature should certainly take into account. Minnesota doesn't have fossil fuels. We don't produce natural gas, we don't produce petroleum, we don't produce coal. And we're sending $13 billion a year out of state to buy energy. If we invested that money in Minnesota to create Minnesota energy with our wind and solar resources, we can create a great number of jobs here in Minnesota, 50,000 jobs estimated by Mr. O'Connell's study, and grow some of the businesses that we know are succeeding here and helping our state become more competitive. So the bill that we're having our informational hearing on today sets out an achievable path towards 100% clean energy. The utilities in the state that are not Excel will be required to reach 55% renewable energy by 2030, 80% renewable energy by 2035, and 100% carbon-free energy by 2050. Excel's goals are 5% more aggressive for the renewable target and 5 years earlier for the carbon-free target. The carbon-free standard is new, and it is incorporated as the last step because the best research that I've seen shows us that we know how to get to 80% to 90% renewable energy affordably with current technology. The last 10 to 20%, we are still going to need new technological innovation, which is why the bill is technology neutral on reaching 100%. But we also have a generation and a half to get there. And if the last renewable energy standard is any indication, we very well could get there cheaper and faster than we know with our current knowledge about what technology is right now. The bill maintains the flexibility that's in the current renewable energy standard for the Public Utilities Commission if meeting our targets significantly affects energy costs or reliability for Minnesotans. And it also ensures that the Public Utilities Commission is implementing the standard in a way that benefits communities across the state. This includes considering the impact on transition communities that currently host fossil fuel generation, as well as ensuring that the transition creates good Minnesota jobs. I believe Minnesota has a once-in-a-generation opportunity to lead our nation's transition to clean energy. It's time to set the next energy vision for Minnesota and give the electric industry the certainty they need to plan for a least cost, reliable future that benefits all Minnesotans. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to take questions.
Representative Cropland.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to the testifier. Thank you, Representative Long, and again, thank you for the treats. First question, are we going to have a fiscal note on this bill?
I have not requested one at this point.
And Madam Chair, the author, are you going to be requesting one?
Madam Chair, Representative Garofalo, I'd defer to conversations with the chair on whether one is needed, but if one is requested, I'd be happy to.
We will request one if we see a fiscal impact on the state or local governments.
Well, Madam Chair, we would find out if there was an impact on state government through the fiscal note. So if we don't have a fiscal note, how do we know that it doesn't cost anything?
And you expect that there's going to be a fiscal impact on state government?
Well, the way we do, Madam Chair, the way we do this is that we ask the experts to put together a fiscal note, and then they answer the question for us. I don't get to decide. You don't get to decide. So will there be a fiscal note requested?
We'll see.
Okay. Second question for the author of the bill is, different bills are introduced at different times for different reasons. And I just want to give you a chance. Is this a bill that you actually envision getting signed into law this year, or is this more aspirational about what you would hope would happen from a policy outcome?
Madam Chair, Representative Garofalo, I always introduce bills hoping that they get passed. My Senate author, Senator Frentz, is working hard to get it passed in the Senate. We'll see where we get at the end of the day. I know that any bill that is introduced is going to have changes before it is adopted. One of the reasons I asked that this be an informational hearing today is to make sure that we weren't locked into taking a final vote on this so that we could gather information and hear feedback on the bill's contents as it's currently drafted.
And Madam Chair, to the testifier, one of the drawbacks of the composition of this committee is that there are no members of the majority party from rural Minnesota. Can you explain to me how this bill separates how investor-owned utilities are treated versus cooperative utilities besides the lower percentage amount that is for non-Excel areas? Because obviously co-ops and IOUs are substantially different utilities and how they can respond to this sort of dramatic policy change. How do you, aside from the different percentage, how are you providing accommodations for member-owned utilities?
Madam Chair, Representative Garofalo, the bill maintains the same distinction for Excel and for all other utilities in the state that is currently under the renewable energy standard. I'll note that Great River Energy, which supplies a large amount of power to a number of our cooperatives in the state, has bold renewable energy goals. They've set a 50% renewable energy goal by 2030. But I know we have a lot of folks coming to testify from the municipals and co-ops this afternoon and this morning, and I'm looking forward to hearing their testimony and feedback on the bill.
Madam Chair, and to Representative Long, most recently we had a huge stressor to our energy system last week where Minnesotans were consuming huge amounts of energy. You combine that with the fact that 20% of the year the sun sets in Minnesota before 5 p.m. and that most wind turbines do not safely operate. In fact, they shut them down at about 10 degrees below Fahrenheit. Given that situation, as you envision this bill, if we had that weather event, how would we conceivably keep the lights on?
Madam Chair, Representative Garofalo, thank you for the question. It's an important one. I think in the reliability space, I often hear arguments that are made that tend to favor the energy source that is favored by the individual in general. I'm not suggesting you are. I'm just saying this is a broad statement. So I think reliability has a different meaning in different contexts. If you look at the 2014 polar vortex in the Northeast, there wound up being large impacts on coal and natural gas resources. There were coal piles that froze. There were tubes for boilers that froze as well. And so in that case, wind actually wound up taking up a lot of the slack that natural gas and coal were when those resources were coming offline. There are some impacts, as you noted, in terms of wind and very cold weather. And so I think that's something that we need to take a close look at. Part of it is, as a previous testifier mentioned, making sure that you have a broad area that is feeding into our system, and not just Minnesota, but resources from around the region. But one of the testifiers before our committee, Mark Ahlstrom from NextEra Resources, mentioned that There are also some real benefits to reliability when you make a transition. So for example, some of the new resources that are coming online in terms of demand management or looking at storage can provide enhanced reliability to the grid from our current system. And so engineers who are smarter than I believe that you could do a transition to full renewable energy and actually have a grid that is more reliable and more resilient than the grid that we have right now.
Madam Chair, my final question then for the author. My understanding is that the three most important goals of this legislation are to reduce pollution, lower costs, and to try to in-source energy creation in the state of Minnesota. So instead of exporting dollars, we're bringing them into the state of Minnesota. I assume that if I'm wrong about those three things, you'll correct me with your answer. But would utilities be able to meet this standard by purchasing RECs from other states?
Madam Chair, Representative Garofalo, that's a good question. I'm not sure if under the current version they're able to purchase RECs. I might defer to our researcher, Bobby Leff, on that question.
Well, while our incredibly talented nonpartisan staff is looking this up, if I could just, I'll ask the author then the follow-up to that, and that is that in the event that a utility decides to purchase RECs, how does that accomplish the goal of either reducing pollution, lowering costs, or insourcing job create energy production into the state of Minnesota? Because no reasonable assessment of the purchasing of RECs could say that any one of those three things are true.
Madam Chair, Representative Garofalo, I think it might be less true for the third, but the first two, it would be true for. If you are purchasing RECs, you are getting credit for real renewable energy reductions, which is having an overall benefit for the environment. And for cost, I think we've talked a little bit about the cheaper costs in general of wind and solar resources. Your point is well taken on jobs. If we're going to be purchasing RECs from out of state, then that wouldn't be meeting the intent of my third goal, which is to produce as large a number of Minnesota jobs and clean energy as we can. And so that's, I think, a fair question.
And Madam Chair and Representative Long, but when you purchase a REC, you're not purchasing the power, you're just purchasing the rights to the power. So this power already exists, so you're not reducing pollution. When it comes to reducing costs, you're not reducing costs because, again, you are simply buying a piece of paper that says somewhere someone's producing renewable energy. And then we agree on the third point. So when it comes to the purchasing of RECs, it doesn't reduce pollution, it doesn't lower costs, in fact, it increases costs because all it is an adder on an existing power source, and it's definitely not in there. So given that fact, how would purchasing RECs be consistent with the goals of this bill?
Madam Chair, Representative Garofalo, you're only allowed to sell a REC to one person, so you're getting credit for the renewable energy that is being produced with that one sale. So that energy resource is being used to reduce pollution, and the REC is the way to track that. So I think I would disagree that the RECs aren't a way to reduce pollution. I take your broader point about out-of-state RECs, and I think that's something I'd be interested in looking into.
And Madam Chair and Representative Long, but when you purchase a REC, you are not using the power. When someone puts a utility-scale solar project up in southern Nevada, Nevada Energy consumes the power, they have extra RECs, they simply sell us a certificate saying, yeah, this is renewable energy we're consuming down here. Up in Minnesota, you're still using coal, you're still using natural gas or hydro, so there is no environmental benefit. But if you can tell me why I'm wrong, I'm happy to hear an answer to it.
Madam Chair, Representative Garofalo, my understanding is that to take your hypothetical for a Nevada utility, if they're selling the REC, the utility themselves can't use that REC to meet their own requirements. And so it's only being used once to meet one target, so it would be applied to the Minnesota target. You're right, you wouldn't get the clean air benefits of reducing pollution in Minnesota, but you would get the climate benefits of reducing carbon emissions overall.
If
So,
we
thank you,
could
Madam
have Mr. Eloff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In answer to Representative Garofalo's question, I'm looking at subdivision 4 of the statute, which isn't in your bill because it's not being changed by this bill. But what it says is, in lieu of generating or procuring energy directly to satisfy the eligible energy technology objective or standard of this section, an electric utility may utilize renewable energy credits allowed under the program to satisfy the objective or standard. Madam Chair, I also agree with Representative Garofalo when he said you can't heat a house on RECs. I believe this was put into the law to enable those utilities that weren't generating or procuring energy from eligible energy technologies to in effect meet this statute by paying extra to buy RECs. They still had to supply the energy, which cost them. They also had to buy RECs, which cost them. And I believe the thinking was that that extra cost would enable them to invest in more eligible energy technologies so they wouldn't have to pay for RECs from outside.
Okay. With that, we're going to go to the next questioner, and I am noting the clock, members. We're going to finish the questions now in a few minutes, and we will have another opportunity this afternoon because we're reconvening at 4. So those of you who are on the list, will stay on the list and will be the first up when we come back at 4:30. Representative Nichols.
I didn't ask for a question.
Oh, it's Representative Mahoney. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions about the bill, not so much the energy or how you're getting it, but you're asking the PUC to take into consideration the creation of high-quality jobs in Minnesota paying wages that support families. Any definition to that? Because I have a member on my committee that thinks $20,000 is the Jobs Committee is a good, high-quality job. I really believe that you start a high-quality job somewhere above $50,000. So do you have any, and maybe that's something you need to think about or put more thought to how you do that. But if you have an answer now, that's fine.
Madam Chair, Representative Mahoney, that's a great observation. I think that it is not defined currently in the bill, and perhaps that's something we can look at working together on and seeing if we can add some clarity on.
And then, because I'm unlikely to come back for this evening's session, we're trying to be family-friendly around here. You're eliminating the waste-to-energy classification as renewable energy. Does that have any tax implications for that particular energy? For that particular energy.
Madam Chair, Representative Mahoney, I am not aware of tax implications that this would have. The reason that waste energy was removed is that simply that resource is not carbon-free. And when the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency came and presented to us, they noted that there is carbon pollution and emissions that come from waste energy resources. So if our goal is to be working towards meeting our 80% reductions that we've set in the law by 2050, then that resource is not going to be as helpful as renewable energy and other carbon-free resources. This would not prohibit waste energy resources from operating. It simply would not allow them to get credit as renewable energy, and so they wouldn't be able to sell renewable energy credits, for example.
Madam Chair, there are a variety of waste-to-energy facilities. I've had 2 of them in my office saying that it would essentially kill that particular industry, and that's fine if that's what your intent is. But I work down in Dakota County and drive by Pine Bend landfill, and on occasion for my hobby, I have to drive all the way up to Princeton and drive up 169, and I don't know the name of that particular landfill. And in today's world, if you reasonably well read, China's not taking any more of our recycling unless it's absolutely pure, and they've set some standards. I don't know all the standards. That's going to create more of a problem for our landfills. And already, the one down by Pine Bend is about 8 stories high, maybe 9, and I'm told it goes the same down below. that's part of the consideration of what we're doing here. How do I want to say this? What we do in one committee affects, or in one hand, affects the other hand. And that's going to be problematic because that's a water issue. No matter how good of a lining you put into those things, they leak sooner or later. So somehow or another, your bill has to start looking at that particular piece of it also. Because more likely than not, they'll just shut those down and take that tonnage out to Pine Bend or the other one up north. So that's a consideration we need to look at when we're doing this, because it's changing one pollution for another. And that's a fear for me, because we need to address them both. So.
Madam Chair, Representative Mahoney, thanks for the question. The alternatives aren't only burning or disposing in a landfill. We don't have particularly high diversion rates in the state of Minnesota compared to a number of other states and localities on the front end, in particular in the organic space, which if you were diverting organics, you have significant carbon benefits for one, but are also able to produce usable materials in terms of, additives for farming or for gardening, et cetera. You're correct that the recycling market right now is in a tough space with China's decision, but recycling markets I think have fluctuated over the years and hopefully will come back. And I think your point's well taken. We should think about how we are managing our waste stream. And I know Representative Hornstein and others have pushed very hard for having increased diversion and increased resources coming in on the front end for recycling and composting. And that's personally what I would favor in terms of moving forward as a state on our waste management policies.
Question.
One more, that's.
About 15 years ago, I chaired a bioscience committee, and some of the best engineers in the land told me that they would have joint replacement material so you didn't have to do surgery. Because I'm looking at that as a construction worker, I've worn out a couple of joints here or there. And they said, 5 to 10 years max, 10 years max. 15 years later, not the same ones, but very similar with similar reputations say, 15 to 20 years away. So our engineers, we love them, we say great things about them, but they're very optimistic.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Long. We're going to now go to the testifiers that have signed up. And members, we will have member questions later on this afternoon. Members, 40-some people have signed up to testify. We are limiting testimony to 2 minutes apiece. And if the first 3 testifiers would come up, Anna Grace Hottender, Leila Harrell, and Mandy Fernandez. If you would come up together, you can each take your turn, introduce yourself for the record. And after they are here, we will hear from Mike Noble and then Beth Soholt. Welcome to the committee. Introduce yourself for the record. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the committee. I'm Anna Grace Hottinger, and I'm 15, and I'm from Shoreview, Minnesota. I'm here representing Minnesota Can't Wait, a coalition of determined youth developed this fall from various organizations, including I Matter, YAMN, which is the Youth Environmental Activists of Minnesota, and we are all youth anticipating to make a difference throughout our gorgeous state and be better leaders in the nation and taking bold and urgent action on climate change. We are here today in support of Rep. Long's bill because it's a bridge towards demolishing our dependency on dirty energy and steering away from the climate crisis. This bill encompasses various parts of what we as a movement are working for through shifting the economy and society towards renewables. The imminent climate crisis is terrifying. My sister, Mary Claire, who lives in California, was trapped in the California wildfires this fall. The buildings surrounding her had burnt down, forcing her to leave for her own safety. What happened to her jolted me into the reality of how little time we have to take action on climate change. People are already losing their lives, especially those that are already impoverished, not just to wildfires, but to hurricanes, heat waves, cold waves, drought, and more. It terrifies me to see how much worse I can get and how next time my sister or someone else I love might not survive. But if we act now, we have a chance. I'm dedicating this time because I think we are capable of creating a better future. Fighting for our futures can bring people together rather than separating them. We can all come together on this issue, and I'm hopeful to it, because this is an everybody issue. No matter one's race, class, sexuality, politics, and so much more, we can fight this together. By supporting Rep. Long's bill, you will be advocating for the rights of youth, ecosystems, and adults to the fair and just rights of life, liberty, and overall happiness. All of those are at risk due to climate change. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And next.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, good morning. My name is Leah Harrell, and I am a senior at Hopkins High School in the West Metro. I am part of Minnesota Can't Wait, a youth-led, statewide movement pushing for a rapid and equitable transition to a sustainable economy. We support this bill as achieving 100% renewable energy is a crucial goal of our movement. I came to be a part of the climate discussion rather by accident. I signed up to be a part of my school's Earth Club on a whim during my sophomore year of high school, expecting to be loosely involved with saving the polar bears and picking up trash around campus. When I started hearing the words climate change floating among my peers, I questioned what that term meant for Minnesota. The sea level has not risen to my doorstep. The forest fires have not engulfed my neighborhood canopy, and the hurricanes have not beaten down the walls of my home. Yet, my Earth Club helped me recognize the localized impacts of climate change. In the mere 18 years that I have lived in the great state of Minnesota, I've witnessed it becoming more common for thermometers to climb to extreme highs and plummet to extreme lows, threatening my health. I've witnessed the staple crops of our state become vulnerable, threatening my food security. I've witnessed increasingly strong precipitation events damage my public and private infrastructure, threatening my community's economic growth. This is the reality, and the reality is threatening my future. My Earth Club also helped me recognize another aspect related to climate change, the growing movement of youth fighting against it and who are not letting their age define what they think they can achieve. Like Anna Grace and Maddie and hundreds of others, I've stepped into this leadership role out of the necessity to protect the life ahead of me and the lives around me. We will not tolerate inaction because we can't wait. We must work together to achieve progress because it is not a Democratic future or a Republican future. It is just our future. I stand here today because this bill plays an invaluable role in determining how your generation is going to leave the state of Minnesota for my generation. Though there is still much more to be done, I support a transition to 100% renewable energy as one component of the broader solution. So I'll say it again, and I won't stop saying it. Minnesota can't wait. Let's protect our future by taking action today. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you my story.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Maddie Fernandez. I'm 15 years old, and I'm from Edina, Minnesota. I'm here today to share about the Minnesota Can't Wait youth campaign, as well as the importance of the work that we're currently doing. As Anna Grace said, Minnesota Can't Wait came together this fall as a coalition of youth-led environmental organizations that wished to make a difference not only on a local level, but on a state level. After seeing the potential societal change that we can make by working on all levels of government, we joined together as Minnesotan youth to work towards one common goal: avoiding the climate crisis. We are in support of Representative Long's bill because we believe it to be a step in the right direction in avoiding climate catastrophe. This bill supports our vision of completely shifting the economy towards a green and sustainable future and off of fossil fuels. In addition, it also adheres to the 12-year deadline that Representative Long himself expressed by the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report that expressed that we have 12 years until the point of no return for climate. Personally, I find that when people are confronted with the drastic timelines expressed in reports such as the UN's IPCC, there is a tendency to be fearful and therefore unacting on climate change. I personally felt this way before I jumped into climate advocacy. However, I saw the young leaders such as Greta Thunberg and Varshini Prakash taking action and making a difference in the national and international scale, which inspired me to do so myself here in Minnesota. So I wish to potentially inspire others about taking actions themselves. The truth is that although the situation is dire, we as students in a society can still take action to slow and reverse the progression of climate change. Because I truly want Minnesotan winters to remain snowy, and I don't want Minnesotans to die and experience extreme temperatures and weather swings that cause people to freeze to death. I want Minnesotans to feel food secure. I don't want there to be food deserts in Minnesota that cause people to starve to death. I want Minnesotans to feel healthy. I don't want there to be a health crisis around the migration of mosquitoes carrying disease. I want Minnesotans to have their 10,000 lakes. I don't want them to dry up. I implore you, committee, to deeply enshrine and protect us youth's right to life, liberty, and happiness, all of which would be destroyed by climate change. In supporting Representative Long's bill, you would be demonstrating precisely this, and you'd be protecting our right to a future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mike Noble, and if Beth Soholt will be ready. And after her, Dr. Mike Menzel. Welcome.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Michael Noble. I'm the Executive Director at Fresh Energy. I'm speaking today on behalf of Fresh Energy. Our colleague Jade Drake Hamilton was supposed to be here today, but she had a quite serious injury yesterday on a fall in the ice. Minnesota is ready for this conversation of a 100% clean energy solution. This is our chance. This is our historic chance, and I agree with the young people that Minnesota really can't wait. We've heard from Rick O'Connell from GridLab that very, very deep reductions in carbon emissions and electrifying more and more of our economy are going to be economic, reliable, good for the economy, and good for the environment, saving money. The reason this bill is ready for debate, this reason this bill is ready for discussion, reason this bill is ready for passage, is that the 100% solution is now is our time. Today's bill is made possible by our state's largest electric company, Xcel Energy, that deserves enormous congratulations for announcing that it will be 80% carbon-free within about 10 or 11 years across its 8-state footprint, and it'll be carbon-free across 80% carbon-free by 2030 and 100% carbon-free in all 8 states by 2050. Today's bill has been made possible by dozens of Minnesota corporations calling for 100% clean energy, dozens of corporations all over the world, cities, states, 10 governors have now pledged to have 100% clean energy. This bill is made possible by the technology. Every single expert forecast that's ever been made by our Federal Energy Information Agency has been far surpassed by reality on the ground, with the prices falling and renewable energy being deployed more fastly than experts ever predicted. This bill is made possible by our children, our young people, who are telling us about the science in clear and unequivocal language that Minnesota can't wait. I think it is quite remarkable now that the science is more clearly and generally understood than it ever has been in 30 years. Most people can tell you now that within about 12 years, we have to have deep, deep, deep cuts in carbon pollution, or it's game over. We'll have missed the window. We'll miss the opportunity. You know, you heard so much from your land-grant university, your University of Minnesota, that all of our industries, our agriculture, our tourism, our forestry are all at risk from a changing climate. And our natural resources that make Minnesota a place that we all embrace and love are at deep risk from a changing climate. Now is the time. This bill can't wait. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Beth Soholt. And Dr. Mike Menzel will be right after her. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What a daunting task to follow Michael Noble and those great kids. Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Beth Soholt. I'm the Executive Director of Clean Grid Alliance. Some of you might know us formerly as Wind on the Wires. We are a St. Paul-based nonprofit organization working to advance renewable energy. We work in Minnesota and 8 other Midwest states on technical and engineering issues and public policy for clean electricity. Clean Grid Alliance has a long history of working with many stakeholders, including utilities, to implement state renewable energy goals and requirements. Clean Grid Alliance is a unique collaboration of NGOs, many of my colleagues are in the room this morning, and businesses that can help utilities deliver projects and deliver renewable energy, including wind, solar, and increasingly storage projects. As such, we have seen firsthand the benefits that renewable energy development has brought to the state of Minnesota. For instance, 1/4 of the counties in Minnesota receive wind tax revenue that can be used to offset tax increases for residents, make capital improvements, or support schools or emergency services. The local counties get to decide themselves what to do with the tax revenue. So the more than $7 billion in Minnesota wind farms means over $12 million annually in tax revenue for Minnesota counties. These benefits are the result of thoughtful public policy passed by the Minnesota legislature and supported by several governors over the last 18 years. Utilities have worked closely with their regulators in the case of investor-owned utilities and with their boards of directors and members in the case of cooperatives and municipals to find good and cost-effective projects to meet the policies the legislature passed. Utilities have done an outstanding job of meeting renewable energy policy, notably years ahead of time. I applaud the chair, Representative Long, and committee members for your leadership on these important issues. Many Minnesotans are asking their utilities for additional renewable energy, and surrounding states such as Illinois, Michigan, and Wisconsin are having conversations about taking the next steps on carbon reduction, electrifying the economy, and market rules and infrastructure needed to keep the electric grid reliable. So you are in good company. And just one final quick comment. Passing significant energy policy takes lots of discussion to find pathways that work for Minnesota utilities and other stakeholders. We have a significant challenge, but great opportunity in the next 15 years and beyond. Thank you for your leadership in this conversation.
Dr. Mike Menzel. And after him, Isaac Orr.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Dr. Mike Menzel, and speak to you today as a physician who's practiced medicine in Minnesota for over 34 years. I'm a co-founder of Health Professionals for a Healthy Climate, which is a Minnesota organization with over 450 health professionals. Our organization educates and advocates for the health of our patients who are being impacted by climate change. Several recent peer-reviewed medical studies are crystal clear that it's telling us that the cost to our health and well-being by postponing action will be substantial. Minnesota's climate is changing. Dangerous weather extremes are more frequent. Fossil fuel pollution is contaminating our air and water, and our patients are getting sick. My 9-year-old grandson with a history of asthma, it's worse whenever their air quality index is over 100. And it's heart-wrenching to watch a child struggle to breathe. Lyme's disease, which can be severely debilitating, is now reported in all counties of Minnesota, whereas when I was a medical student, it was only a handful of counties. Minnesota patients with pre-existing heart disease and lung disease, COPD, coronary artery disease, are at a higher risk of dying prematurely. And now we understand more about the fossil fuel-related developmental disorders. Just last month in the Journal of the American Medical Association, There was a study that showed that our increasing number of heat stress days is resulting in a higher incidence of fetal congenital heart disease. And it's in pregnant women. And this is, the Midwest states are being impacted the most. The emotional and financial costs of these health impacts, plus the loss of home, your workplace, or a loved one from a natural disaster, has resulted in a growing population experiencing severe mental distress. And these impacts are borne by all, but certainly the children and the elderly and those at the lower economic scale are experiencing the most severe. There's little doubt among health professionals and major medical organizations that climate change is a medical emergency. But the prescription's not complicated. To have good health, you must live in a healthy environment. An EPA study from 2014 estimated that a return of $30 for every dollar invested in reducing air pollution. You can make an important historic difference by supporting the legislation to get us to 100% renewable. We need to look at the cost benefits, certainly, but then we also have to ask, what are the costs of moving too slowly? It's a complex issue, as this book on climate change and health, the size of it might indicate, but I know we can do it. And I'm grateful to members of both parties here for the hard work that goes into understanding these issues and acting on them. Thank you.
Thank you. Isaac Orr, and then Jessica Tricich.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Isaac Orr, and I am a policy fellow at Center of the American Experiment. My colleagues and I are in the final stages of putting the finishing touches on it, doubling down on failure, how a 50% renewable energy standard will cost Minnesota $80 billion and have negligible environmental benefits. And I'm here to show you, or just share some of the executive summary findings. So this system will cost $80 billion to implement by 2030 and maintain through 2050, which is an average household cost of $1,200 per year for every Minnesota household. It will increase electricity prices by 4.3 cents per kilowatt hour on average, increasing this 41.5% relative to November 2018 prices. It will cause monthly electricity bills to rise by $32 a month and $386 per year. The Edina School District would have to lay off 10 teachers to make up for the cost of higher electricity prices. This would harm energy-intensive industries such as agriculture, healthcare, manufacturing, and mining the most, and it would decrease CO2 emissions in the most expensive way possible. It would cost $135.22 to do this with wind and solar. We found that nuclear energy would be able to do this for $112. So my takeaway for right now is let's legalize nuclear power because we can decarbonize much faster, and we should also allow large hydro. Other than that, reducing Minnesota's all of the CO2 emitted from our electric generating industry would eliminate 0.028 gigatons of CO2 in the atmosphere. Last year, the global production was 37.1. So we really have to weigh costs and benefits when we are looking at the best way to proceed. So I would say let's legalize new nuclear power plants. They offer a much more affordable, they would save $22 billion at least. And also the community solar garden, wow, really expensive, $135 per megawatt hour. Thank you for your time. And I look forward to sharing these findings at a later date.
Thank you. Jessie Tricich, and after her, Greg Mast.
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Jessica Trich. I am the senior campaign representative with the Sierra Club's Beyond Coal campaign. The Sierra Club is the nation's oldest and largest grassroots environmental organization. In Minnesota, we represent 80,000 members and supporters empowered to protect communities by addressing the state's most urgent environmental issues. I am very excited to be here today to speak in support of House File 700. Thank you, committee, for your leadership, as the many experts who you have brought around in the last few weeks have testified. We need bold action on climate, and we need it now. Minnesota has been a leader in setting strong goals for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but as you know, we're not on track to meet those goals. So now is the time for us to move forward with 100% clean and equitable energy that benefits all Minnesotans, starting with the way that we generate electricity here in the state. We've made strong progress moving away from coal and investing in wind, solar, and energy savings. All of our electric utilities are on track to meet or exceed our current renewable energy standard because the cost of wind and solar continue to decline. Xcel Energy is already committed to 100% carbon-free energy by 2050. It's time to set the benchmarks higher. Sierra Club believes that we can meet or exceed the renewable benchmarks in this bill and supports meeting 100% carbon-free energy with 100% renewable energy. We also see a huge opportunity in this transition from fossil fuels towards renewable energy, an unprecedented opportunity to reshape our energy system and ensure that clean energy benefits all Minnesotans. This bill speaks to some of these opportunities, removing garbage burning as a renewable resource to help protect the health of our communities, the creation of new local family-sustaining clean energy jobs in our state, ensuring a just transition for workers and communities that are hosting retiring power plants, reducing air pollution in communities that have been historically burdened by pollution, and more. This bill is a critical first step on our path to 100% clean and equitable energy in Minnesota. On behalf of the Sierra Club and on behalf of myself and my two little boys who I hope to be able to share Minnesota winters and the boreal forest up north with as they get a little older, and maybe this summer too. We all urge you to support this bill and support 100% clean energy for Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg Mast, and after him, Kevin Lee.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Greg Mast, and I'm the Executive Director of Clean Energy Economy Minnesota. We are an industry-led nonprofit organization dedicated to growing and strengthening Minnesota's clean energy business ecosystem. Our membership is comprised of clean energy companies ranging from startup businesses to Fortune 100 and 500 corporations who employ thousands of Minnesotans across the state. Today, I'm here to testify in support of House File 700, a bill that would strengthen our state's clean energy businesses through policy leadership. Our organization's tagline is unleashing the power of innovation to propel Minnesota forward. This bill helps drive innovation and supports development of abundant and homegrown renewable energy. For our member companies, policy leadership provides an increased level of certainty to clean energy businesses. Strong policies also tell business owners and investors that Minnesota is deeply committed to retaining, growing, and attracting clean energy jobs and investment here in Minnesota. So at the end of the day, policy certainty plays a critical role in driving market expansion and success. While advances in technology and business model innovations are driving down the costs for renewable energy, strong policies, like the ones that we are all gathered here today to discuss, are still needed to ensure timely investments are made in low-cost and competitive clean energy resources by our utility partners. Today, Minnesota is home to over 59,000 clean energy jobs, and these jobs are growing 2 times faster than all other sectors of our state's economy, according to the 2018 Clean Jobs Midwest report. Over the past year alone, renewable energy generation jobs, like those associated with wind, solar, and bioenergy, grew 16.5%, which was the highest growth rate across the entire 12-state Midwest region. And this growth is bringing benefits to all corners of our state, as 40% of clean energy jobs reside throughout greater Minnesota. The renewable energy standard has played a critical role in growing these jobs, and now is the time to take action to ensure that renewables will continue to enhance our near and long-term economic competitiveness. Taking action and increasing our collective ambition will also set us on a path to proactively mitigate the serious risks posed by carbon emissions throughout our electricity sector. Without swift action, we risk ceding our leadership position to others while simultaneously hindering the fastest growing sector of our state's economy. So in closing, House File 700 provides a clear and predictable pathway that will usher in further growth for Minnesota's clean energy sector. And that means additional opportunities for our member businesses, from Duluth to Mankato, from Red Lake Falls to Rochester, from St. Cloud to Winona. Our members experience firsthand the benefits that innovative clean energy solutions provide, reducing costs, mitigating risks, and spurring new market opportunities as demand from consumers continues to rise. Accelerating our transition to a cleaner and cheaper energy system will provide Minnesota with a competitive advantage and spur additional economic opportunities and benefits for all Minnesotans. This bill will also continue to diversify our state's energy mix by significantly expanding our use of clean, reliable, and affordable energy. Our organization looks forward to working with all of you and other stakeholders in the near term to move Minnesota towards a thriving and prosperous clean energy future. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Lee, and afterwards Julie Nearborn.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Kevin Lee, and I am the Director of the Climate and Energy Program at the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy. I'm very excited to be here at this hearing for a number of reasons. I'm excited to express our support for this bill, and I also appreciate the opportunity to express our gratitude to the leadership of this committee for taking it up. But I think even more importantly, I'm excited because this hearing is one of the first of its kind in this state. For the first time, we have a bill that truly reflects the scale of the crisis that we face. And it gives me tremendous hope that we have leaders in this body that have the fortitude to do what it takes to protect future generations. We're in desperate need of that hope, because the truth is that despite the ambition of this bill, we cannot mistake it for a climate solution. The climate solution that we need and that we can create together will involve a suite of policies that complement this bill. These policies will target specific sectors outside the electricity sector targeted by this bill, like transportation, industry, and agriculture. They will involve incentives and rebates to electrify HVAC systems, water heating and cooking in nearly every home and business in the state. They will involve programs to modernize or retrofit every fossil fuel-fired process line in heavy industry. It will also mean electrifying virtually the entire transportation sector: cars, trucks, buses, trains, and freight trucks. But this bill lies at the center of these policies, because decarbonizing the generation of electricity is the engine that drives greenhouse gas reductions in those sectors. I'm confident that we can do this. I'm confident because we have no choice. We are the last generation that has the opportunity and the ability to create the future, to use our governor's words. I don't do this work for myself, and I know that you don't either. I do this for my son, Alex, and my daughter, Eleanor. In the year 2080, they will be in their 60s, and if we do nothing, the world will be a very different place. From the ambition of this bill, I know that you will be there for this fight going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Julia Nearborn, and after her, Sheila Lamb. Welcome.
Hello, and thank you for having me here this morning. My name is Julia Nerbin, and I'm the Executive Director of Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light. We work with over 400 congregations and thousands of faith actors across Minnesota who believe that it's our moral calling to ensure that we have a livable planet for all humans and non-human relatives. Throughout Minnesota, faith communities have been taking the lead on climate justice, reducing carbon in their houses of worship through installing solar, doing lighting retrofits and energy efficiency projects, and showing up here at the Capitol to make sure that decision makers hear their voice and move us towards 100% renewables. Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light strongly supports this legislation for reasons that are widely shared. One, it is grounded in a theology of the possible. Look to our north, and Ontario Power is currently 99% carbon-free. Look to our south, and Mid-American Energy will be 100% net carbon-free when it completes its next wind farm in 2020. Yes, this legislation makes sense. Just this past June, Shiloh Temple Community Solar Garden went live, and it now provides power to a mosque and a church in North Minneapolis and 26 local residents. Two, this legislation grows out of a theology of abundance. The sun showers to the earth immense energy every day. And in the upper Midwest, if there were 20 million corn to ethanol acres transitioned to solar, the energy would power 400 million homes. And as the kids at Shiloh Temple Just Be Solar Camp shared, hey, why not? It's fun, and it's free energy. Three, This legislation supports a theology of justice and caring. Tens of thousands of new jobs will be created that will enrich lives like Levi's, who participated in the Department of Corrections solar training program this last year while he was incarcerated at Willow River Correctional Facility. Now he is out of prison and he has a living wage job working in the solar industry. So this is something we can do together with Levi, with the kids at Shiloh Temple, and across Minnesota. We can create a 100% better future. Thanks.
Thank you. Sheila Lamb, and after her, Mark Bonhorst.
Madam Chair, Representatives, thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Sheila Lamb. I'm a volunteer with Min 350, which is part of the national organization 350.org. But today, I'm not going to throw all the science at you that you've been hearing, because we need to look at another aspect of this as well. As a mother and as a grandmother, I've spent years worrying about broken bones, children falling off bikes, and skinned knees. My children range in age from 14 into their mid-30s. Our conversations sadly have changed to the point of anxiety and depression in our youth because they don't know what the future has to hold for them. We're dealing with a socioeconomic impact in dealing with these things in our children, and we are negligent and remiss when we're not hearing the voices of our youth who are standing up and saying, we no longer have an assurance of a healthy and safe future. Our children are stating, we're worried about our air, we're worried about our water, and they're even to the point of doubting whether or not they will bring children of their own into this world, and we need to pay attention to our youth. In 2007, Minnesota proved that we can set efficient goals for clean energy, and we met those expectations earlier than planned. Now, Minnesota, instead of being the leader, has started to lag behind states such as New York and California that have already put these 100% goals in process. It can and needs to be done. We need to stand up for our children and our grandchildren and future generations. Support this bill and anything that has to do with clean and renewable energy to ensure the future of those that come after us. Thank you for your time.
Mark Bornhurst, and after him, Kenrick Schiefel.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm a member of First Universalist Church Environmental Justice Team. We were part of a Unitarian Universalist Solar Garden program, which harnessed 5 churches, over 100 members who signed up to a community solar garden. Excuse me. I'm also a part of the Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light Policy Team. So I just sort of, in addition to what Julia just talked about, I'd like to say that this bill also celebrates a theology of creativity that revels in the amazing dynamism of the moment in which we live. 2 years ago, I wrote a letter to Governor Dayton asking why we were going to build a super-sized gas plant. I was really taken by the Republican luminaries who were talking about carbon fee and dividend as a free market way to address climate change. If we're going to be raising the cost of natural gas, why are we talking about building this supersized gas plant, I wondered. Part of that letter was an attachment or a link to an article in Forbes about the amazing new storage technology that might happen involving vanadium flow batteries, batteries that have essentially infinite lives. Last month, in The Economist, talking about how China is going to take over the scientific world, they devote 2 paragraphs to vanadium flow batteries that China is starting to install right now. You know, not engineers who are being optimistic, but businesses that are implementing this technology right now. It's 60 times more powerful than the battery in Australia. So I think there's just tremendous opportunities. Becker and Sherco could be places where you could implement research and actually put on the ground flow batteries. That could become a location, a go-to location for green companies like Google. And the other amazing opportunities, consider a farm economy where you have all these additional crops, wind, solar, storage, EV charging, and you get paid for sequestering carbon with good farming techniques. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kenrick Schivel, and after that, we will have a representative from Otter Tail Power.
Morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Committee members, my name is Kenrick Schivel. I am a government relations representative for Dairyland Power Cooperative. Members, as you're aware, Minnesota serving utilities are rapidly incorporating wind, solar, and renewable enabling natural gas generation into our portfolios. However, even as our industry embraces the adoption of renewable energy resources, I am concerned about proposals that appear to ignore the engineering limits of existing technology. Let me illustrate with two examples. Last summer, the weekend of August 10th, you remember it was hot, about 93 degrees, high humidity, air conditioning load spiked. Of the 17,000 megawatts of wind generation potential in the entire MISO footprint, we averaged about 200 megawatts that entire weekend. 200 out of 17,000. To put it bluntly, that means there was virtually no wind in the entire Midwest for several days in a row. Uninterrupted electricity was available only because of fossil fuel plants that could be called upon and dispatched at will. Closer to hand, last week, we all experienced firsthand the life-threatening weather extremes of a polar vortex. Electricity demand spiked 4,000 megawatts even as the temperatures plummeted. Unfortunately, wind generation output plummeted with the temperature. From about 13,000 megawatts of generation on Tuesday to approximately 4,500 megawatts of generation on Wednesday and Thursday, creating a gap of about 8,500 megawatts of load versus generation. Once again, uninterrupted electricity was available only because of fossil fuel power plants that could be called upon and dispatched at will. It's important to emphasize that even as our industry incorporates ever greater amounts of renewable energy resources, we still need a balanced, all of the above generation portfolio approach if we're to maintain the affordability, the reliability, and sustainability of our national electric grid. Let me conclude my remarks by suggesting that before we take this idea for a drive onto the lake, let's make sure the ice is strong enough.
We have a representative from Otter Tail Power, and I'm sorry I don't have your name on this. So if you'd introduce yourself for the record.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Brian Draxton, representing Otter Tail Power Company. Otter Tail Power Company is a very small utility, in fact, the second smallest investor-owned utility in the country. One of the unique things about us is that we have half of our customers, only half of our customers are in Minnesota, and the rest of our customers reside in the Dakotas. And you're probably quite aware of a significant difference in regulatory and legislative philosophies between Minnesota and the Dakotas. I think one of the things that is very important is that a company like Otter Tail, we have 3 operating coal facilities. The only one located in Minnesota, we've committed to retiring 2 years from now. The other 2 plants are located in the Dakotas and are owned by multiple partners, none of which are regulated in the state of Minnesota. When Otter Tail makes a decision on a generation resource, much like the prior commenter, we're concerned about three things: reliability, environmental impact, and the cost to our customers. Reliability, as he brought up, was very important just last week, and I was going to give an example very much like he did, so I'll skip that. But I think one of the things that's important is when it was in the mid-minus 30s last week, all of our wind tower turbines in North Dakota were shut down because of the extreme cold, and in fact had about a 2-megawatt load of the heat they needed to keep the oil warm and to not damage other equipment. So at those times, it can actually become a load rather than a resource. MISO recently released its Renewable Integration Impact Assessment, Phase 2, and in there it showed that once renewables crept over between 30 and 40%, we saw a significant increase required in transmission infrastructure. And we're all aware that that's very expensive and very time-consuming to construct. So lastly, back to that three-legged stool of reliability, cost, and environmental impact. My hope is that when Minnesota is considering legislation such as is before you here, that they'll move cautiously and be mindful of the interdependence of reliability, environmental impact, and cost. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, we are going to go into recess in just a moment. When we come back at 4:30 in this room, we will start with Representative Long's bill and pick up with questions from members so that's where we'll start. And then we will finish the testimony from folks. We're about halfway through. So thanks so much. We are in recess.